Hi, and welcome to my first strategy guide for European Universalis 4, and in this one we are going to win the 100 Years' War as England. So this is the 1444 start, and we're going to pick England, which is at war with France for the French crown. If we win, we will get a personal union with France, and we will rule over both nations. So we'll switch to the political map mode, and there is a lot of luck involved in this scenario. England has a extremely weak king with no heir, and if he dies during this campaign, it's game over. You can't beat France and the War of the Roses. Now, England has a interesting start. If you want to play a traditional English match, then you would want to pull your troops out of France as soon as possible. You're going to lose to the French, and then you can focus on colonising North America. I like Paradox games for their alternative history, so I'm going to try and win the War of the Roses and take the French crown. Now, along with luck, there's a lot of dynamic events that can unravel. Quite often Burgundy will declare war on Provence, sometimes allied with Brittany. Other times Burgundy will declare war on France once they're weakened a bit. Sometimes Aragon, they can smell blood in the water and they will try and take Toulouse and Languedoc, and no two playthroughs are exactly the same. So I'm just going to outline the general strategy at the start, and then we'll play the first few days and I'll leave the rest till part 2. So we're going to open up the ledger down here, and we're going to compare our militaries, our armies, and if we look at England, we have 26,000 manpower and 36,000 troops. France has more manpower but less troops. But the thing to remember is we're not just fighting France, we're fighting Greater France, so that includes Foy and Provence and several others. So we're going to leave this here because we're going to check this fairly frequently to see how much manpower we've taken off France. And our starting point is we're going to need an heir, so we're going to get a royal marriage pretty quickly. But first, we are going to ask Brittany and Navarre for military access. That just gives us a staging point where we can attack France from. We are allied with Portugal and we can pull them into the war, but their AI isn't very good. They'll send over, say, 4,000 troops at a time, get slaughtered, and then they'll want to peace with France pretty quickly. So we're going to call them in later on when they might actually be useful. Now, we want to get these troops back to England as quickly as possible. We're not going to fight France head on, we're going to fight a war of attrition. So we'll take a look at our economy. We're losing money and we're spending money on fleet maintenance, and we don't need to. The French fleet is no match for ours, even at zero maintenance. So we're going to get rid of fleet maintenance, and we don't want to fight them anyway. Quite often, if they get a chance, they've only got 4 transports and they can only put 4,000, so they can only transport 4,000 men at a time, and quite often they'll land in Calais or Meath and they can't retreat. So if they do that, we land a 15,000 strong army on top of them and we completely wipe out their 4,000 men. There are quite a lot of revolts in England around this period. There's Welsh and Cornish revolts, Irish, Norman, French and Calais and Gascon revolts, and quite often you get events for Lollard heresies and things of that nature. So we're going to want stability as high as possible and war exhaustion as low as possible, because we can't waste our precious manpower fighting rebellions. So as soon as we get a chance, we're going to use our admin and diplomatic power on them. For our militaries, we are only getting one military power a month because we've got 3 leaders and we can only support 1. We're only really going to have 2 armies on the go, so we're going to fire poor Richard Neville. And so now we're going to be getting 2 military points a month, and we're going to need that because we're going to scorch the earth here, and that takes military power. So the first moves for our fleet is, this is Blue Squadron, that's the English trade fleet, and we're going to move that up to, not sure what city it is, but Newcastle maybe. We're going to move that in there just to get it out of the way, because we don't want to attack the French fleet. Our Royal Navy we're going to use to evacuate these guys, and these guys are going to move down to Kent, because that's going to be one of our staging areas to seize any opportunity we get. So now we're just going to let one day tick over, basically. So both have accepted our military access. You can see Foy and Armagnac here, they're moving their troops into the board. We're going to bring ours down to Navarra, and the reason we wait till day 2 to do that is these two tend to end up sieging Normandy along with the French, which just adds to their attrition. And you can see the French have split their troops into 2. The one with 13,000 men, that is going to be their sieging army. They're going to use that to lay siege to Normandy. And the one with 19,000 men, I'm not sure if this is the correct terminology or not, but I call it their hunter-seeker army. And they will hunt down any of your units in France as long as it has a numerical advantage and wipe them out. If you have no men in France, they tend to just sit back and collect more attrition. So that's what we're going to do. Now, hopefully our fleets will be there. Provence is making some new allies. Now, you can see Provence is going to go siege Caen, and the French are moving their army in here. So we're going to use 25 military power to scorch the earth. The tooltip says 5, but it costs 25, which is going to burn all the fields and leave no food for the invading French army. Then we're going to get on the ship and we're going to get out of there Dunkirk style. So they're safe at home now. We have a diplomats free, so we're going to ask Portugal for a royal marriage, and that will increase our chance of getting an heir, and that heir is absolutely vital for us. And wow, that worked really fast. We have an heir to the throne. The succession is safe. And he's not a great heir, but he's 10 times better than his father, so that is half our job done for us. So if we look in here now, they are getting 7% attrition. That's going to go up if they move a few more troops in. We're going to get these guys on the boat. You can see the hunting army coming down. Going to get on the boat and regroup up here. It's great when they leave 4,000 men there, because we're gonna try and fight them, and they're also sending off people to do a naval invasion somewhere, which is great because we're gonna wipe out maybe 8,000 men in a couple of quick goes. We're going to assign leaders here and regroup our armies. We want stacks of 15,000 because that is how many we can get on a boat at a time, on our boats at a time. And we're going to do the same here. Assign a general attached to transport, because that's just a quick way of separating out 15,000 men. It's unusual that they've sent so many men down here. I don't think I've ever actually seen them do that, but they're taking a little bit of attrition there, which is hopefully helpful to us. And they're going to land an army in Calais, which we're going to wipe out. Generally they tend to send weaker forces down here, and they're very easy to wipe out. And because this is so dynamic, I'm going to call that part 1, and I'm going to save the game here. We have an air, we're off to a great start, and in part 2 we're going to whittle down the French a little bit. So